Hi, I'm Prateek from Giftable. Here I am in conversation with one of the sharpest mind in HR, Somnath. Thank you, Somnath, for giving us time.
Thank you, pleasure is mine.
The whole intent is somewhere figure out the culture of Intuit in the sense that Intuit is the number one great places to work. So, the first question is around multi-generation. As you very well know, in IT and ITES space, there has been an overwhelming presence of Generation X, my generation, and then the millennials, right? So the two generations. And in next, I guess, in another 5 years, we are expecting another generation to join, Generation Z. What kind of challenges do you foresee, and how do you, intend to address them?
Intuit too, when you look at our different pillars of diversity, one of them is the next generation workforce network. We call it the NGN community that we have with us, which focuses in terms of seeing how we can leverage this talent, the next gen talent, the best possible way, and how we learn from them. Locations or sites of Intuit. One of the key attributes of that or aims of that is while he is able to articulate the company strategy, but that also brings him in close contact with the young workforce or the larger workforce, including the younger workforce at the different sites, and he's able to get a direct pulse of what's happening in the minds of employees. In the India Center, if you consider that, our MD and leader Vijay Anand, one of his investment areas is to walk around the different floors, meet up employees at this workspace and listen to them. It's not about a leader going out and talking strategy and saying, hey, this is what I got to tell you, but in a time spent with employees listening to them. So that gives us a lot of insights what's happening through the minds of different employees. Even in terms of performance management, one of the key focus areas for us, and which is a great practice at Intuit, is that it starts with a conversation around development goals, and then comes the business impact goals. So we tell our managers or leaders, first listen. What does the employee want? What are the employee's aspirations? What would the employee find value to be committed to Intuit? What would make the person feel that he or she is growing with us? And then we focus on the business goals. Right? So that's another way to connect across generations, where the manager or the leader is pushing up a listening hat and not a telling hat, a reviewing hat in terms of business outcomes. One final possibly add to that is it's not about what is on the table, but as a company we also look forward. One of the key things that our senior leadership team across Intuit did last year was to do an exercise where they went 10 years ahead in time, saying that what would be some of the trends in 2027. And what should Intuit learn from that and try to do now in the next 10 years to continue to be an industry leader?
This question is very specific to diversity and inclusion from Indian context. To a large extent, whatever is happening in DNI space in India in particular is kind of mirror image of what is happening in West. Even though the culturally and even economically there is a gap, there is a huge difference, right? I was wondering, if you think there are specific issues which are very specific to India or even Asia also, which at times get overlooked, and something which we should focus on from the very Asian or Indian perspective.
Absolutely. This is one area where I'm hugely optimistic about. It's a reality that things may not be at where it should be, but if you look at it and roll back a few years, I think there's a reason to it. If you go to an Indian industry or Indian organization a few years back, possibly diversity didn't have a seat on the table, and then diversity became a nice thing to do, and then it became diversity more on the gender side, maybe on the early career side, but we are not thinking of diversity as a whole, right? It's only in recent times we're talking about other dimensions of diversity, bringing in, whether it's from the global perspective or from what is local out here. So some of those things are emerging. The second thing is, the business context is changing. It's becoming much more open in terms of how organizations are learning from each other. It used to be earlier, maybe if it's a multinational organization, is exporting practices from the global headquarters to India.
Right.
But I think now with the strength of the India setup growing, more leaders emerging, there is much of a reverse reciprocation happening in the India perspective or the Asian perspective being communicated.
The people with disability in India are well over 100 million. And the number of jobs in an organized sector are less than 50 million, right? So there is a huge supply, but demand is very limited.
Right.
Gap is huge. What do you foresee? I mean, in the sense that, where are the opportunities? I mean, where do you foresee that today or tomorrow we would be able to meaningfully engage them? Because eventually it is all about building a vibrant economy, right? I mean, so expecting that 10% of your workforce is not meaningfully engaged, yeah, that probably will not help us to reach, to build the growth story which we all want to build.
Dimension of diversity, where we are seeing a lot of traction in the corporate ecosystem beyond gender and the next generation workforce. And one of the two elements of that I just shared, how Vijay, our leader, is playing a role at the global scale. Increasingly, it's just not only a change in mindset that is all happening, but a lot of it is being influenced by the adaptation of technology. In as we were growing up, and I go back to my early years, when we saw kids who had special needs or abilities, we felt that was a limiting factor, and that's how the society, embraced that zone. Yeah. But when I look at my kids and they grow up with, colleagues or students or friends who have special needs, they approach and look at it in a completely different mindset. Technology has been such a great leveler, and I'm so happy about it, kind of thing, that, a lot of people with special needs today are endowed with technology which makes them operate like any one of us. We did an audit of our physical infrastructure last year, and we found out areas where we were not adapted to bring in people with special needs, and we have made a lot of changes at our physical work space to see that people with special needs feel comfortable when they are working with us, interning with us, visiting us as vendors, partners, suppliers, customers, whatever it is. 3 interns who are interning with the HR team over here who are visually challenged, and they have been with us for the last 6 months. When they came in the first day, it was great learning from that day to today, and every day is, in terms of, I personally, the entire team, everybody feel that we have learned so much from this experience. Even simple things, because when day one, when the first intern turned up, I think everybody was sympathetic. Every time the intern got up, I think 4 or 5 people rushed to see that, okay, how would the person take the next step? Would the person bang into something? From that day to today, where the interns walk around the campus like any other employee and they feel so comfortable. So we realize that's not the support they need. There's a different dimension of support that they need, not what we think and approach. When we were trying to plan one of our team outings, I think what was on our mindset was that would some of having people with special needs be a limiting factor for the rest of the team. But when we went there and we actually had a great day of various kind of team building interventions, we found that they were equally participative like all of us. And now our mindset has completely changed from the thinking that maybe if you have somebody with special needs, they wouldn't be able to, they would actually stop us from having the event planned out in a particular way to what it actually turned out. So we learned a different dimension of it.
As a senior industry leader, so what would be your advice, suggestion, which will, more of action item which India can do or we can do, which will help us to be in top 50 countries as far as Human Development Index is concerned, say within a decade or so?
Right. What I'm excited about is that we are moving in the positive trajectory, and a jump of 30 ranks is a huge progress. It's not easy in a big scale country like India to make a 30 rank jumping in a year, but we are possibly on the right side, so that's exciting. From a macroeconomic perspective, I'm terribly excited in some of the things which are happening around the digitization efforts led by the government, because that's the best way to reach out to people directly, get them connected, get them more aware. Everybody is digital, right? Everybody has a digital connect. So the more we are able to leverage technology, reach out, make people more aware, I think that's a great way to create a momentum around some of these efforts. Core of Intuit, our business is all about creating success for small businesses, for self-employed, right? So if you look at the society, and there's so many people who are dreaming, who want to make a future for them. It could be a florist, it could be a barber, it could be a Kinara shop owner, etc. So our entire attempt is to how to create a larger societal success so that all of us get elevated, right? And how to make the dreams of those who dare to dream come true.
Now, next question is something which everyone, I guess, around the country would be interested. It's around Intuit being the number one, great places to work, great accomplishment. What is the secret recipe?
Thank you for asking that question, but it's a journey for us. We value our people. It's just not a statement kind of. It has to be embodied and exhibited so that everybody is able to rally around. Our employees are like air. You keep us out of air for 3 minutes and we won't survive. So that's how important employees are for us. And we have made this central to us from day one of our existence. That's a core part of our culture. Culture is something which we rallied around, and that's something we have continued to evolve over the many years that we have been over here. We also believe in the power of the 1,000 people that we have at the site. To be a great place to work is not the agenda of the leadership team, it's not the agenda of HR, it's not the agenda of the communications team or the marketing team, etc. It has to be the agenda of the 1,000 people that we have. Everybody should feel and believe that we are a great place. And that's something we have tried to do through various things to make it an inclusive effort. Having bold dreams and not being satisfied with what has already happened. Finally, I would say is being connected very strongly with employees, very strong with customers, very strongly with the ecosystem, so that we know what's happening, how we can contribute, and it's just not being a great place to work within, but a great place to work in the larger ecosystem. So those are
home, because I have been coming to Intuit for last 1.5 years as part of different programs, and each time I feel so welcome. So the culture which your team has built, it shows that difference. I mean, it's amazing. Right. Thank you for your wonderful insights.